The ballroom of the hotel on Victoria Island held over 300 guests that evening, and every one of them turned to look when the plate of jollof rice hit the floor. Emily was on her knees before she even understood what had happened. Grains of rice were scattered across the marble in front of her, and hot stew had soaked through the front of her wrapper and was burning her thigh. Above her, her mother-in-law stood in gold lace that cost more than most families earn in a year, holding a microphone in one hand and a glass of wine in the other, and she was smiling the way people smile when they have been waiting a long time to do something. She lifted the microphone to her lips and told the entire hall that this was the girl her son had brought home, a girl with no father, no mother, no name, and no money, a girl who entered their family carrying nothing but a small traveling bag and a bad attitude. She said that if the girl could not even carry a plate of rice properly, then perhaps serving was all she had ever been created for, and the whole laughed. 300 people laughed. Emily stayed on her knees, picking up rice with her bare hands, while her husband sat at the high table and looked at his phone. Then she stood up. She wiped her palms on her ruined wrapper, walked slowly to the microphone stand at the center of the stage, and asked for 2 minutes. Nobody in that room knew what was about to happen. Not the mother-in-law, not the husband, not the elder brother who was already reaching for his car keys. But before we go back to the beginning, if stories like this move you, please subscribe to the channel, tap the like button, and tell me in the comments the city or country you are listening from right now. I read every single one. Now, let us go back 3 years, to the day Emily Chidinma Okafor first walked through the gates of that house in Ikoyi. She was 26 years old then, and she had spent her whole life learning how to be useful to people so that they would not leave. Her mother left when she was 7. One Saturday morning, the woman kissed her forehead, told her she was going to the market at Yaba, and simply did not come back. Months later, they heard she had traveled to Italy. She never wrote. She never called. Emily spent the next 19 years believing, deep in a place she never spoke about, that people stay when you make yourself necessary to them. So she cooked. She cleaned. She anticipated needs before they were spoken. She turned love into labor, because labor was the only love she trusted. Her father raised her alone, in a modest 3-bedroom flat in Yaba, and he was the finest man she ever knew. Engineer Dumebi Okafor was a quiet, precise person who wore the same 2 brown shoes for 11 years and read newspapers from front to back. He worked in port engineering, and he traveled often to Rivers State, and though the flat was small and the generator was old, Emily never once felt poor. He told her constantly that a person's worth is not in what they can display, but in what they can build. He died suddenly when she was 21. A stroke on a Tuesday afternoon in traffic on 3rd Mainland Bridge. He left her a flat with a leaking roof, a wooden trunk full of documents, and a debt to a cooperative society that took her 4 years to clear. She was working as an administrator at a private secondary school in Ikeja when she met Tunde Adeyanju. He came to the school to inspect a building project his family's company was financing, and he stood in her tiny office for 40 minutes, talking about nothing, refusing to leave. He was 33, an architect, soft-spoken, with kind, tired eyes, and a way of listening that made her feel like the only person alive. He courted her for 14 months. He learned that she took her tea without sugar. He drove her to Yaba to visit her father's grave and stood beside her in the rain without complaining. And when he asked her to marry him, he did something strange that she thought about for years afterwards. He held both of her hands, and he told her that he owed her more than she would ever understand, and that marrying her was the only good thing he would ever do with his life. She thought he was being romantic. The traditional wedding was in Yaba, small and joyful. The white wedding was in Ikoyi, enormous and cold. and Emily noticed that his mother did not smile in a single photograph. Chief Mrs. Felicia Adeyanju was 62 years old then, and she had ruled that house since her husband died. She was a woman of enormous presence, feared by her children, worshipped by her church committee, famous across 3 states for her Sunday lunches. On the day Emily moved in, the older woman took her on a tour of the house that lasted almost an hour, and at the end of it, she opened a small door beside the kitchen, handed Emily a set of keys, and explained the arrangement. There would be no cook while the new wife was in residence. There would be no cleaner either. She said that in their family, a woman proved she was not a stranger by the work of her hands, and that any girl who married up must be willing to bend down. She said it pleasantly, the way one discusses the weather. Emily was too stunned to speak. She looked at Tunde, standing behind his mother in the corridor. He looked at the floor. That night, Emily could not sleep. At around 2 in the morning, she went down to the storeroom, where her things had been packed away, and she opened her father's old wooden trunk for the first time since his burial. She was looking for his photograph. She wanted to see his face. Underneath the photographs and the old engineering certificates, at the very bottom of the trunk, there was a large brown envelope, sealed with tape that had gone yellow with age. Her father had written her name across the front of it in his careful handwriting, and beneath her name he had written 4 words, "Open only when necessary." And in the top left corner of that envelope, printed in faded blue ink, was the letterhead of a company registered in Rivers State. The second name listed among its founding directors was Adeyanju. Emily did not open the envelope that night. She sat with it on her lap on the cold storeroom floor until the generator went off at 4, and then she wrapped it in a wrapper, pushed it to the bottom of her own suitcase, and went upstairs to begin her first morning as a wife. That morning set the pattern for the next 2.5 years. She woke at 4:30. She swept the long corridor upstairs and the 2 staircases. She pounded yam 3 times a week because her mother-in-law said that machines made yam taste like paper. She ironed her brother-in-law's shirts and her sister-in-law's dresses and her husband's agbada. She washed the plates from Sunday lunches that fed 40 guests. She was not given money for herself, because Chief Mrs. Felicia explained that a woman who is fed and housed does not need a salary, and Tunde's account had been merged with the family's household account years before, which Emily did not understand at the time. The strangest part was that the family never treated her cruelly, in the way films show cruelty. There was no shouting. There was something worse. There was politeness. She was simply not addressed. Visitors came and were never introduced to her. Her sister-in-law Bisola, who was 30 and ran a boutique in Lekki, funded entirely by the family, would hand Emily her shoes to clean without looking up from her phone. Her elder brother-in-law Segun, the managing director, would walk into the kitchen, take a glass of water from her hand, and continue his phone conversation as though the hand belonged to the tap. The only person in that house who spoke to Emily as a human being was Mama Nkechi, the 58-year-old cook who had been dismissed the week Emily arrived, but who still came twice a month to collect her pension money. Mama Nkechi told her, in a low voice by the back gate, that she should be careful in this house, and that the walls had been carrying secrets since before Emily was born. When Emily asked her what she meant, the old woman only shook her head and said that some things are not for the mouth. Then, 8 months into the marriage, Emily became pregnant. She did not tell anyone for 6 weeks. She wanted to hold it privately, like a small warm light. She told Tunde on a Friday evening, and for a moment, she saw something come alive in her husband's face that she had never seen before, and he wept. She lost the baby at 11 weeks. It happened on a Sunday, during one of the big lunches, while she was carrying a tray of pounded yam up the steps to the dining room. She felt something tear inside her. She put the tray down, held the wall, and told her mother-in-law that she needed to go to the hospital. The older woman looked at her, looked at the 40 guests waiting for their food, and said that the guests must eat first. Emily served 40 people. Then she took a taxi to a general hospital in Oberlande alone, and she was there for 2 days. Nobody from the family came. Tunde was in Abuja on a project and did not know. When he returned and found out, he locked himself in his study for an entire night, and afterwards, he was quieter than ever. From that day, something in Emily changed. The girl who worked to earn love stopped believing that the love was coming. And in place of that belief, something colder and much more patient began to grow. Her mother-in-law began to make jokes about her body. In front of church women, in front of relatives, she would say that some girls are beautiful, but empty, that a fine house with no children is only a very expensive hotel. Emily never once told her what had happened on that Sunday. She held that knowledge like a stone in her chest. It was 11 months later, on a Thursday afternoon, that she finally opened her father's envelope. Inside were 3 documents. The first was a share certificate, issued in 1998, in the name of Dumebi Chukwuemeka Okafor, for 41% of a company called Ridgeport Terminal Services Limited. The second was a founding agreement between 2 men, her father and a certain chief Ayodele Adeyanju, establishing a container terminal in Onne, Rivers State. Her father had designed the terminal. The chief had provided the political connections and the initial money. They had built it together. The third was a letter, in her father's handwriting, dated 4 months before he died. It said that he had been ill and had begun to prepare. It said that the Adeyanju family had been pressuring him for years to sell his holding and that he had refused, because the terminal was the only thing he had ever built that would outlive him, and because he intended it to be her inheritance. It told her to go to his old friend, Barrister Ezenwa Ilobi, in Ikeja, and to trust no one else. And at the very end of the letter, her father had written one line that made Emily put the paper down and sit very still for a long time. He wrote that he had never told anyone that he had a daughter, because he wanted her to be invisible until she was strong. Emily sat in that storeroom holding 3 pieces of paper in a house where she scrubbed floors at 4:30 in the morning and slowly began to understand that the family she served had been eating from her father's table for 20 years. She heard footsteps in the corridor above her. She pushed the papers under her wrapper just as the storeroom door opened, and Segun's shadow fell across the floor. He was not looking for her. He was looking for a case of wine, and he found her kneeling on the floor of the storeroom, and he told her to bring 2 bottles up to the study because he had guests. He never asked what she was doing down there. It did not occur to him that she could be doing anything, and in that moment, Emily understood the strange weapon she had been given. She was invisible. For 2.5 years, the Adeyanju family had discussed everything in front of her, because she was furniture. She had stood in that dining room with a serving tray, while Segun explained contract figures to his mother. She had swept a corner of the study, while board matters were argued over brandy. Nobody lowers their voice in front of a maid. So Emily stopped merely listening. She began to remember. She learned that the family haulage business and the 2 Lekki properties, and Bisola's boutique, and the cars in the compound were not really funded by the Adeyanju group at all. She learned that everything, all of it, flowed from quarterly payments out of Ridgeport in On. She learned that Segun flew to Port Harcourt every 6 weeks and came back in a bad temper. And she learned, from a single sentence spoken carelessly over dinner, that there was a problem with something the family called the minority block. The following Tuesday, Emily told her mother-in-law that she had a hospital appointment, and instead she took 2 buses to Ikeja and found the chambers of Barrister Ezenwa Ilobi above a pharmacy on a busy street. He was 67, with white hair and thick glasses. And when she said her father's name, he stood up so quickly that his chair fell over. He had been trying to find her for 6 years. He had gone to the flat in Yaba and found strangers living there. He had written letters that were returned. Then he told her something that made the room tilt. He said that for the past 2 years, someone had been attempting to complete a transfer of her father's 41% holding to the Adianju family, and that the transfer file at the corporate registry contained a signed deed of assignment bearing her name. Emily told him that she had never signed anything. She said it 3 times, and her voice was shaking. Barrister Ilobi opened a drawer, pulled out a photocopy, and slid it across the desk. The signature was a poor imitation of her handwriting. The document had been witnessed by a commissioner for oaths in Port Harcourt, and it was dated on a Sunday in March. Emily looked at that date until the numbers blurred. It was the Sunday she had lost her baby. She had spent that entire day serving 40 guests in Ikoyi and lying on a hospital bed in Obalende. There were records. There were nurses who had seen her. There was a discharge summary with her name on it. Whoever had forged that signature had handed her the one thing that could destroy them. She went home that evening and cooked egusi soup for a family of 4, and served it, and washed the plates, and said good night, and none of them noticed anything at all. Over the next 3 months, Emily became something the Adeyanju family had never imagined possible. She became patient. She photographed documents in the study with her cheap phone while pretending to dust. She kept a small notebook hidden inside a bag of rice. She traveled once to Port Harcourt on a Friday, telling her mother-in-law she was visiting a sick aunt, and she met engineer Kelechi Nwosu, a 59-year-old man who had worked under her father at the terminal and who cried openly when he saw her face, because he said she had her father's eyes and her father's stubborn mouth. He told her the truth about the quarterly payments. He told her the minority block had never been legally transferred and that the company had been paying dividends to a family that had no legal right to the larger portion of them. But the worst discovery was not about Segun. It was about Tunde. She found it in a locked drawer in her husband's study, on a night when he had traveled and left his keys in his other trousers. There was a file of receipts going back 11 years. Payments to a cooperative society in Yaba, payments to a private secondary school, payments for a roof repair on a small flat, made 2 years before she ever met him. Her husband had been quietly paying her father's debts and repairing her father's house since she was 22 years old. He had known who she was before he ever walked into her office in Ikeja. Emily sat on the floor of that study for a long time, holding 11 years of receipts, and she did not know whether she had been loved or managed. She did not know whether the man who married her had come to her out of love, or out of guilt, or as an instruction from someone else, and she realized that she could not ask him, because if he was part of it, asking would end everything. 2 weeks later, the invitations went out, printed in gold, for Chief Mrs. Felicia Adeyanju's 65th birthday celebration at a hotel on Victoria Island. And that same week, Barrister Ilobi called Emily with 2 pieces of news. The first was that the forged transfer had been formally challenged and frozen, and that a criminal complaint had been filed. The second was that under the founding agreement her father had signed in 1998, the holder of the 41% block did not merely own shares. The holder controlled the board, and an extraordinary general meeting of Ridgeport Terminal Services Limited had just been scheduled. For 3 days after the birthday party, they found out that she had been to Ikeja. Emily never learned exactly how. Perhaps a driver talked. Perhaps someone at the registry made a phone call. But 8 days before the party, the temperature in that house dropped in a way she could feel on her skin. It began with the bedroom. She came upstairs one evening and found her clothes folded in 2 nylon bags outside the door. Her mother-in-law explained that the room was needed for a visiting cousin from Ibadan, and that Emily could stay in the boys' quarters at the back of the compound until further notice. There was a bed there, and a fan that did not work, and mosquitoes, and Emily said thank you and carried her own bags across the wet compound in the rain. Then it was the food. Then it was the gate. Baba Sule, the old gate man, was instructed that the small madam should not leave the compound without permission from the big madam. He came to her window that night, ashamed, and told her he had been given the instruction and that he was an old man with children in school and that he was sorry. Emily told him she understood completely and that he should keep his job and that she would find another way. The pressure grew heavier every day. Segun began coming to the boys' quarters in the evenings. He never threatened her outright. He was a careful man. He would sit on the edge of the small table and talk about how difficult life is for a woman with no family, how many marriages collapse in this city, how a girl without a father is like a goat without a rope. Once he mentioned very casually that people who go to lawyers usually end up poorer than when they started. Once he mentioned that Barrister Ilobi was an old man with a bad heart. That was the night Emily became truly afraid. She did not sleep. She sat on that thin mattress with her phone in her hand until morning, and she made 3 copies of everything she had, and she sent them to 3 separate places, to Barrister Ilobi, to Engineer Nwosu in Port Harcourt, and to a former colleague from the school in Ikeja, whom nobody in that family had ever heard of. 4 days before the party, her mother-in-law called a family meeting in the sitting room. Emily was told to stand, not sit. Chief Mrs. Felicia announced that the family had reviewed the marriage, that nearly 3 years had produced no child, and that arrangements had already begun for Tunde to take a second wife, the daughter of a family friend from Ijebu. She said the girl was 24 and from a proper home with a known father. She said Emily could remain in the compound in a domestic capacity if she behaved herself, and that this was generosity, not obligation. Bisola looked at her phone. Segun looked satisfied, and Tunde, 36 years old, an architect, a grown man, sat on that sofa and said nothing. Emily looked at her husband for a long moment, and something inside her closed permanently, like a door in a house where nobody lives. She told them all that she understood, and that she would need 3 more days. That night, Tunde came to the boys' quarters. It was the first time he had crossed the compound since she was moved there. He stood in the doorway, and he began, at last, to talk. He told her that when he was 25, he had found papers in his late father's safe, and that from those papers he had learned what his family had done to a quiet engineer named Dumebi Okafor. He told her that the pressure on her father had gone on for years, and that when the man died, the family celebrated quietly, and Segun opened champagne. He told her he had gone looking for the engineer's family out of shame, and had found a girl in Yaba burying her father alone, in the rain, with 9 people at the graveside. He told her he had paid the cooperative debt, and repaired the roof, and paid for a management course she had once mentioned to a friend at the school. He told her he never intended to meet her, and then one day he walked into a small office in Ikeja, and she offered him a chair and a cup of tea, and asked him whether he had eaten, and he fell in love with her within an hour, and had never in his life been so ashamed of anything. He told her that he had said nothing for 3 years because he was a coward, because his mother controlled the accounts, because Segun held the papers he had signed when his own building firm collapsed in 2019, and because he had nothing of his own and had never had the courage to build anything. Emily listened to all of it standing up. Then she told him that she had heard him, and that she believed him, and that his shame was real, and that his shame had cost her a great deal, including one Sunday in March that he would never fully understand. She told him that she did not know yet whether she could forgive him, and that she would not lie to him about it. And then she told him only one more thing, She said that on Saturday, at his mother's party, he would have to choose, in public, in front of 300 people, which family he belonged to. She said she was not asking him to choose her. She was asking him to choose the truth. She said that whichever way he chose, it would be the last decision he ever made as a boy. On Saturday morning, Emily ironed her mother-in-law's gold lace, packed the coolers, arranged the cars, and traveled to the venue in the last vehicle with the caterers. In her handbag was a brown envelope, a certified court order, a hospital discharge summary dated in March, and the phone number of a man in Port Harcourt who had been waiting 20 years to say her father's name out loud. By 8 o'clock that evening, the ballroom was full, 300 guests. Commissioners and church elders and business partners and cousins from Ijebu, a live band, Chief Mrs. Felicia Adeyanju in gold lace, 65 years old, glowing under the chandeliers as a photographer moved backwards in front of her. Emily had been working since 5 in the morning. She was in a plain wrapper and a simple blouse. She had carried coolers, arranged small chops, counted plates, and directed caterers. No seat had been reserved for her at any table. At around 9, her mother-in-law took the microphone to thank her guests, and as she spoke, she turned and beckoned Emily forward and asked her to bring a plate of jollof rice to the high table for a special guest. Emily carried the plate through the crowd. What happened next, she was never fully certain about. Perhaps it was an accident. Perhaps it was not. The older woman turned, and her elbow came up, and the plate went out of Emily's hands and shattered on the marble, and hot stew soaked through the front of her wrapper. Emily went down on her knees to pick it up, and her mother-in-law lifted the microphone and told 300 people that this was the girl her son had brought home, a girl with no father, no mother, no name, no money, a girl who entered their family carrying nothing. She said that if she could not carry a plate of rice, then perhaps serving was all she had been created for. The hall laughed. Emily stayed on her knees a moment longer than she needed to. Then she stood, wiped her palms on her ruined wrapper, walked to the microphone stand at the center of the stage, and asked for 2 minutes. Her mother-in-law, amused, allowed it. She thought it would be an apology. Emily began by agreeing with her. She told the hall that it was true that she had entered that family with nothing, that she had cooked and scrubbed and pounded yam and washed the plates of everyone in that room at one time or another, and that she had done it for almost 3 years without a single naira of her own. The room began to grow quiet. Then she said that there was something the celebrant had forgotten to mention. She said that she had a father, and that his name was Engineer Dumebi Chukwuemeka Okafor. At the high table, Segun Adeyanju stood up so quickly that his chair fell backwards. Emily kept talking. She told them, in a calm and steady voice, that in 1998, 2 men had built a container terminal in On, Rivers State. One of them provided connections. The other one designed it, supervised it, and spent 4 years of his life living in a porter cabin to bring it into existence. She said that the terminal was called Ridgeport, and that every car in the compound at Ikoyi, every property in Lekki, every boutique in this city, every plate of rice served in that hall that night, had been paid for out of it. She said that her father had owned 41% of it and had refused, until the day he died, to sell. Segun was already moving toward the stage when the double doors at the back of the ballroom opened. Barrister Ezenwa Ilobi came in first, in a black suit, holding a document folder. Behind him were 2 directors of Ridgeport and engineer Kelechi Nwosu, and 2 officers who did not need to introduce themselves to anyone in that room, because everybody there recognized what they were. Emily continued. She told the hall that 2 years ago, somebody had forged her signature on a deed of assignment to move her father's shares into the Adianju family. and that the forged document had been dated on a specific Sunday in March. And then she lifted a single sheet of paper and said that on that Sunday she had been admitted to a general hospital in Oberlande, losing a pregnancy, alone, after being told to serve 40 guests before she was permitted to leave the house. The silence that fell on that ballroom was total. Chief Mrs. Felicia Adeyanju's hand went slowly to her mouth. She had not known. Of all the things she had done, that one she had genuinely not known. Emily said that under the founding agreement her father signed in 1998, the holder of the 41% block did not simply own shares. The holder appointed the board. And she said that an extraordinary general meeting had been scheduled for Tuesday morning. Segun reached the foot of the stage and began to shout that she was a liar, that she was a housemaid, that somebody should remove her. He turned to the hall and demanded that the guests ignore her, and then Tunde Adeyanju stood up at the high table. 36 years old, silent for 3 years, he walked past his brother, took the second microphone from the stand, and told 300 people that everything his wife had said was true, that he had known it since he was 25, and that his silence had been the greatest cowardice of his life. He said his family had taken a man's work, and then taken the man's daughter, and used her as a servant in the house his money built. Then he turned to his mother and asked her, in front of everyone, whether it had been worth it. She did not answer. She sat down slowly in her gold lace and stared at the floor. The party ended without music. The weeks that followed were not dramatic. Real justice rarely is. It was slow, and it was made of paper. Segun Adeyanju was charged with forgery and uttering a false document, and by the following year he was appearing in a courtroom in Port Harcourt 3 mornings a month, wearing the same suit each time. Bisola's boutique closed in 4 months, because it had never earned a single naira of its own. The house in Ikoyi went quiet, and then it went dark, because the quarterly payments stopped. At the extraordinary general meeting on Tuesday morning, Emily Chidinma Okafor took her seat as the controlling shareholder of Ridgeport Terminal Services Limited. She was 29 years old, and she wore a plain grey dress. Engineer Kelechi Nwosu wept in the second row. What she did afterwards surprised everybody. She did not throw the family out of the house. She placed her mother-in-law on a fixed monthly allowance, enough to live comfortably and not enough to command anyone, and she did it without ceremony and without a single word of triumph. She found Mama Nkechi and put her 3 grandchildren through school. She gave Baba Sule a pension and a small piece of land in his village. And she had a bronze plaque made and fixed to the wall of the terminal administration block in On, bearing her father's name, his years, and the words he had said to her 1,000 times when she was a girl, that a person's worth is not in what they can display, but in what they can build. And Tunde? She did not divorce him, and she did not go back to him. She told him that she could not build a marriage on 11 years of secrets, no matter how kindly meant, and that guilt and love are not the same thing, even when they look alike in the dark. She told him that she needed to see him stand somewhere on his own, with nothing given, before she could decide anything. He moved out of Ikoyi. He took a small flat in Yaba, 4 streets from the flat where she grew up, and he started a 2-man architectural practice with borrowed equipment, and he did not accept a naira from her. It took him a long time. She watched from a distance, and she waited, and that is a different story. But here is the thing worth carrying away from all of this. For nearly 3 years, a woman knelt on the floors of that house at 4:30 in the morning, and every single person in it looked straight through her. They mocked her empty hands. They laughed at her silence. They mistook her patience for weakness and her service for smallness, and they never once asked themselves who she was, because they had already decided that she was nobody. That is the oldest mistake human beings make. We measure people by what they are holding, and never by what they are carrying. The quiet ones are not always powerless. The ones who serve are not always beneath you, and the person you humiliate today may be holding, in a brown envelope at the bottom of an old wooden trunk, the entire foundation of the house you are standing in. Be careful how you treat people when you think you have all the power. Because power moves, it always moves, and it very rarely announces itself before it does. If this story moved you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments what you would have done in Emily's position. I will see you in the next story.